Good morning. Thank you for coming. My name is Jonathan Raymond. I'm Superintendent in Sacramento City Unified School District, and we're really pleased to be here today. We're going to talk about tax extensions today, but before we get into that, I think there's a little bit of good news, and maybe the only bit of good news. It isn't raining today, so that is good news for California, and perhaps it's an omen of some better things to come. I'm really pleased that I'm joined by several of my colleagues that represent other school districts around California, so I'd like to take a moment to introduce them. Joining me and speaking shortly will be Superintendent Mike Hansen from Fresno Unified School District, Superintendent Rick Miller from Riverside Unified School District, and really pleased that my local colleagues from Sacramento County could join us today. Frank Porter from Twin Rivers, Pat Harecki from San Juan Unified School District, Bobby Plow from Natomas Unified School District, Superintendent Daisy Lee from Galt Union High School District, Karen Schauer from Galt Joint Unified Elementary School District, Ruben Reyes from Robles School District, Scott Lear from Center Joint Unified School District, and we have Steve Nemasic from Monterey, who's also here to join us today. We're here because we represent children in California, and that's, I think, a point that's getting a little bit missed in our message, is about putting children first. If you look around me, look at the charts to my right and my left. Reminds me of the movie Apollo 13. You remember that famous line when Tom Hanks said, "Houston, we have a problem." Well, I'd say Sacramento, California, the United States, we have a problem. Look what's happening to public school funding. When President Obama says we have to win the future, we don't win the future of the United States without California. And we don't win the future in California unless we invest in children, unless we invest in public K-12 funding. So I'd like to introduce Mike Hansen from Fresno to talk a little bit further. Mike?
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm happy to be here today to represent the San Joaquin Valley, Fresno County, and my colleagues in the center part of our great state. I thank you for Jonathan for framing the conversation this morning. I'll spend a few minutes going through some details that will help give greater relief to some of the comments Jonathan made. But let me start first with the comments that are being made in the press and in the larger conversation points around a June potential ballot measure that would give us the opportunity to vote and possibly extend taxes, or potentially moving that into November. And so I'd just like to make the strong point that I know my superintendent colleagues would certainly support, and that is, frankly, November does us very little good. We need to have a vote, and if we're going to have a vote, we need to have the vote in June. We need to have people think about it this way. If we do not have a vote in June, then what districts will be forced to do is go through the steps of making the drastic cuts we are all planning for under a Plan B scenario. We will spend the 11-12 school year decimating, devastating, and tearing down programs for students across this entire state. That's what the 11-12 school year will be about. And if we could imagine a potential election in November that actually passed, we would then spend the 12-13 year trying to rebuild what we have just torn down. In effect, we will lose 2 school years for the kids in our academic pipeline with respect to their education and working on the issues of student achievement, and that would be, in my view, unconscionable. So we're here today to urge folks in the strongest terms possible that they get it together, find some compromise, and move forward with the June election. California, as you can see from the charts, has cut $18 billion from its K-12 public education system in the last 3 years. That comes out to be a reduction to about $1,900 per student. And I need to say that all the districts standing behind me and up and down the state, the over 1,000 school districts that we're here to represent today, we have exhausted the quote-unquote easy solutions. We have used the one-time monies that we keep in reserve to get us through tough times. And while we acknowledge that Governor Brown's plan would spare schools from further drastic cuts by retaining K-12 funding at its current levels right now, which is actually a bit of a decrease, we need to have the tax increase, or the tax rolls continue to be extended for at least another few years. Voters need to have that opportunity to weigh in on with this special election in June. And if we are not granted what the governor has said, he will ask for an all-cuts budget. the all-cuts budget, frankly, is going to hit not just teachers, not just school principals, not just central offices, but an all-cuts budget, frankly, needs to be translated into a cut right at kids. It is a cut to students of California, and frankly, what everybody needs to frame this as is it is a cut to the workforce preparation of California. California, for the next 30 years, will be producing about 13% of the United States of America's workforce, and for us to continue to drill into those classrooms and take opportunities away in terms of preparation for our kids, I think is unconscionable. The impacts of an all-cuts budget would be devastating. Districts, by virtue of having no other choice, have been planning for this worst-case scenario, and across the states, local boards, superintendents, and school districts have been making and preparing for terrible decisions. Already, many districts have eliminated summer school. Summer school, that last-ditch opportunity to keep kids on track to graduate and earn that diploma, or to make up that A to G course that might make them eligible for a CSU or a UC education. Districts across this state have also cut adult education programs, and that is not programmed just for older adults to do square dancing, ladies and gentlemen. That is where we have our adults in our communities going to learn workforce preparation skills that help them seek employment in our communities. Districts, including my colleague Jonathan Raymond here in Sacramento, have voted to take drastic steps, including eliminating co-curriculars, which include sports, drama, yearbook, cheerleading, speech and debate, marching band. Imagine schools run without those opportunities for kids. We know those programs keeps kids in school, and if they're not coming back for that, there's no way we're going to keep working with them with respect to the core academic programs. Districts like Sacramento across the state are eliminating home-to-school transportation. It's also another way that we can't get kids to school, and it also poses safety issues around our regions. We've raised class sizes throughout the state. It's going on in Fresno, and it's going on throughout the state. It's not uncommon now to see class sizes of 40 or more across the great state of California. The Plan B budget that we are all hoping will not be, but we have to plan for, will trigger massive layoffs, and districts have been taking those steps already, especially with respect to our certificated teachers. Thousands of teachers were pink-slipped earlier this month. Over 300 local education agencies have already reported a total of almost 19,000 teacher pink slips to the California Department of Education. That's 300 of our districts at 19,000. That's not the 1,000 districts total. There are over 1,000, almost 1,100 districts in our state. So that's just a massive number. And I will say that many districts in the past have used pink slips for temporary teachers and others, and then hired folks back. Our superintendents that we are talking with now